Every year at my church, we do a thing called Trunk or Treat, where we decorate trunks and kids come by to get candy from them. And it's been really fun. In the past, I've done 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Moana, but this year I wanted to do something different and probably not a water-themed Disney movie. I was having difficulty figuring out what I wanted to do, and then I got a great idea.
Light bulb.
Just looking at my desk, you can tell I'm a big fan of Despicable Me. And the good thing is, this trunk came together with no problems whatsoever. I started by loading an image of the Minions into the program Inkscape. There I was able to get accurate dimensions so I could make real-life representations of them to scale. My original idea was that I would use these concrete forming tubes to make the main body of them. I figured they're already cylinders, this should work great. I was having some difficulty coming up with the heads. They just kind of looked weird. I started with making a head out of the same material as those concrete forms. That didn't really work. Then I made another one with cereal boxes coated in a homemade clay. That didn't work. And then I tried one out of EVA foam, but that one, it needed some improvement. But I think I was on the right track. In order to make templates for the Minions, I went to the website Template Maker. They are a great free resource. I opted for using the sphere, and then I could easily make the rounded cylindrical bodies of the Minions. I did go with EVA foam, which I cut out on a bandsaw. I cut it out at a 12.5 degree bevel, which helped giving it that round body. Also, I get bonus points because the bandsaw I was using was yellow, just like the Minions. Once all the pieces were cut out, I had to glue them all together. For this, I used contact cement. When working with contact cement, you need to apply it to both sides, wait for them to get tacky, and then you can stick them together. Safety is really important when using contact cement. You're gonna wanna be in a well-ventilated area. There's a screen door behind the camera, and you can see in the background, I have a fan going. Also, it's really important to wear socks when using it. It's a pretty tedious application, so it's nice to have something to watch while you're doing it. I opted for catching up on some Tim Hatch live videos. So once the pieces are all tacky, you can put them together, starting with individual pieces and then larger components. The EVA foam needs to be heat sealed with a heat gun before and after sanding. And there's a lot of sanding. A lot of sanding. Also kind of weird, from using the belt sander, I got this strange black spot on my wall. It's creepy. Using a custom circle cutter chucked up into my drill, I was able to drill out some holes for the arms that I'll make later. To cut out the Minions' mouths, I used a Dremel with a spiral cutting bit. That was able to pierce through and then just cut out the mouth shape. I have to admit, I quoted The Dark Knight a whole lot during this process.
Let's put a smile on that face.
I then followed it up with a stone grinding bit to give it a little bit of a smoother feel. To make the Minions' hair, I actually used a USB cable. I just cut it out into lengths, and for Kevin's hair, I bunched it up into one big section. I dremeled out a hole in the top of his head, and I put the hair in place. It'll get wrapped up later for painting, so it doesn't get colored. For Stuart, I just drilled some holes and I left them until later. And for Bob, he's completely bald. Of course, I had to include the Minions' iconic goggles. I started with some templates that I had made and printed out, and I traced those onto some layered EVA foam. To actually cut them out, I used a circle cutting jig and a Dremel. Once together, they're starting to look like Minions. To make the hands of the Minions, I started out with a PVC pipe socket And then I used some wire to create a bit of an armature. That then got bulked out with aluminum foil, and I covered it with Crayola air dry clay. The downside about Crayola air dry clay is that it's complete garbage. You only give this to children that you actually don't care about what they make. It's an awful clay. I hate it. I'll never buy it again. After that, I filled in the cracks that come about from it with drywall joint compound and then painted it all black. As for the feet, I don't have any in-process stuff. I made them from MDF and put a PVC socket inside of them. I then attached them to a plywood base and painted it. I also made a skeleton out of PVC pipe and fittings. The arms of the minions I made from bending PVC pipe. It's possible to fill the pipe with sand and then you can bend them without getting these gross distortions that I did, but that was gonna take way too much work for me and planning ahead, and I just wanted to get it done. So it looked kind of bad. Also, you gotta be careful when bending this stuff because you have to heat it up. And if it starts turning colors, that means that it's burning. And if it's burning, it's releasing chlorine gas. And that's dangerous. So you gotta be careful. I was careful. I didn't die. I didn't create any gas. It was good. So I had to fill it up with hot glue and aluminum foil. And that I ended up filling up with a different kind of clay. And then I painted it. To paint the minions, I have them all supported on PVC pipes. Remember those skeletons that I had made? Well, this is what those were made from. The color of paint that I had was Banana Bunch, which I think for minions is quite fitting. This was a good quality latex paint, so I was sure it was only gonna take like 1 coat, or 2 coats, or 3 coats, or 4 coats. Or 5 coats, and we're good. I can't forget about painting the goggles. The outside of the goggles get a coating of silver paint. The inside of the goggles get a black paint. The minions were going to need some eyes, so I started out by printing out some eyes and adhering them to some cardstock. Once together, the eyes were cut out and put into place with hot glue. And in order to finish up the goggles, I put the straps onto them by adhering a thinner black EVA foam with contact cement. Now it's time for Stuart to get some hair. How do you feel about hair plugs? I feel like they're not for me, but for Stuart, they're gonna work out just fine. The minions all together, but there's definitely something missing. He's totally naked. In order to make overalls for the minions, I used the program Blender to 3D model a pair of overalls. I was able to get templates from those, and utilizing skills from my job and years of playing Tetris, I got all of the components on 1 yard of fabric. I'm kind of impressed. These were cut out and sewn together, and then I had a set of overalls for Kevin, and for Stuart, and for Bob. To put the minions together, you have to start with the base with the feet on them. You put the overalls onto that, making sure that the ankles go around the feet, so you have access to the PVC sockets. Then set those aside. The arms get put into the body and then attached to the skeleton inside. The skeleton then gets put into the feet. You then pull up their pants and fix their overall straps. Once they were all together, I liked everything, but I thought Bob's mouth was a little bit off. He looked surprised as opposed to happy, so I was able to fix that by using an X-Acto knife and quoting The Dark Knight more.
Let's put a smile on that face.
Once complete and in the car, the minions were ready to see a bunch of kids and hopefully make them as happy as they made me.